Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, please like, subscribe, and comment, and share this with a friend. In today's video, we're going to be discussing my prediction for the 2024 election. I will be updating it monthly leading up to the election day, which is November 5th. There's about 8 months left, so every single month I'll continue to update this prediction at around the middle point of each month. And in today's video, I will be analyzing a little bit of some polls and tying it back to the election map and my personal prediction combined with what everybody else is kind of saying. And so basically on these metrics, you're going to see four different color schemes on each of the Republican and Democrat sides. The darkest shade, safe, will represent anything 12 or above percentage points on one side. The second shade, which is likely, represents 7 to 12 percentage points on either side. The lean shade over here represents anywhere between 2 to 7 percentage points. And then the tilt represents less than 2%. So let's get started. On the Democrat side, these are states that will vote Democrat by more than 12% on either side, or Republican on either side. These are states that are not really going to be competitive at all and that are pretty safe in each category. So we'll start with Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Colorado, Illinois, all these states up on the eastern coast, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine's first district. So before I get further, I will explain how Maine and Nebraska align their electoral votes. They are aligned by congressional district. These are the only two states that award electoral votes by congressional district, and every other state awards them as a whole while these states split them up. So the Democrats will easily carry Maine's first congressional district. And these are about all these safe Democrat states, and for Republicans, we got a lot of the Mountain West all the way down. Nebraska's first and third, not second. We'll get to the second later. Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, South Carolina, and all the other states in the deep south, along with Ohio and Iowa. These states, Ohio and Iowa, have been shifting so far to the right over the past couple years, over the past 8 years, since Obama left office. Donald Trump had flipped them back in 2016, winning them each by around 8 to 9%. And in 2020, despite the national environment shifting to the left, these states continued to stay relatively even, and even some areas shifting back to the right, while a lot of the suburbs had shifted to the left. Same thing with Iowa here. We can see in Iowa that it has relatively stayed the same. We have a little bit shifting to the left, a little bit to the right, which keeps it very safe in Trump's column. And what do I think is going to happen this time? I think that these are going to shift over to 12 points to the right. I think they're going to be very safe margins, and I don't think Biden is going to be competitive in either of the two this time around. Next, we will come to the likely states. For Joe Biden, I think New Mexico is likely. I think Virginia is likely. I think Maine at large is likely. And I think Minnesota is likely. The reason why I say this is because, well, first of all, I think New Mexico is going to swing a little bit to the right this cycle. It voted by Joe Biden by about 10-11% this last time around. But I think the Hispanic trend in a state where about half of the electorate is Hispanic, I think that Republicans will make some gains in New Mexico. I think it'll be a little bit of a closer time. I think it could be around 7%, 8, maybe 9, but I think closer to 7, 8. In Minnesota, this is a state where Joe Biden had expanded on Hillary Clinton's lead by a lot. Hillary Clinton only won the state by 1.5, and Joe Biden wins the state by around 7, expanding vastly on Hillary Clinton's lead. As you can see here, a lot in the Minneapolis city and the suburbs shifted heavily to the left, especially Hennepin County and Carver County, as we can see here. This is a very weird state. It just has the longest Democrat voting streak out of every single state in the union. And it's just electorally very weird. It's not the same as its neighbors, and I think it's going to stay Democrat by a likely margin. Next, Virginia. Virginia is another Democrat state that has been trending to the left recently, but I see it taking a turn In 2020, it shifted vastly to the left, like left off a cliff. And that's mainly in part due to the suburbs around the DC metro in Fairfax, Loudoun, and Prince William County, as well as a little bit in Norfolk and Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. And I think Virginia is going to take a little bit of a turn. They did elect a Republican governor in 2021, and in 2022, the Republicans did fairly well in the midterms in Virginia. So I think that it will trend a little bit to the right, but I think it'll still be pretty safe for Democrats. Same thing with Maine. Maine, I don't see it changing at all that much. Biden's pretty strong up in the Northeast over here, and I think it'll it'll get a little bit closer, but it'll stay relatively safe for Democrats. Next, we have some likely Republican states. First off, Texas. Texas is a state that has been consistently trending to the left, but in 2020 and 2022, the Rio Grande Valley, as you can see here, this is called the Rio Grande Valley along the border with Mexico, trended severely to the right and continued in 2022, where Greg Abbott had won very easily his second term as the governor. And I see the state turning a corner. I see some of these reversions in the Houston area. I still see Denton and Collin over here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area continue to trend left. I think Collin and Denton will continue to trend left and eventually flip Democrat. But I think Donald Trump will continue to make gains with the Hispanics in southern Texas, and that will keep the state from trending too far to the left. Next, Florida. Florida is probably the complete opposite of Texas. It has trended right very much over the past 4 to 8 years. In 2016, it was extremely close, about a point or so, point and a half. In 2020, Trump had won the state by over 3%. And in 2022, Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Marco Rubio had won the state's 19 and 16 points respectively. They had flipped Miami-Dade. Ron DeSantis even flipped Palm Beach County, Tampa, Jacksonville. And the trends that Republicans have made, especially with Cubans, Hispanics in southern Florida, and a little bit in the Orlando suburbs, have been crucial to the state trending right. And I see this state continue to trend right. I see it even up to a 7-8 point win for Republicans. And I think that'll do it for the. One more actually. I think Maine's 2nd district up in the Northeast. If we look at Maine over here, we see that the 1st district is very Democrat, but Trump is the only Republican in recent years to be able to make the 2nd district, which represents the northern part, the more rural part of Maine, to really take a turn to the right, and I think he's going to carry that pretty easily. Next, this is the remaining states. These are states that are really going to decide the election, and we're going to get into them west to east. First, starting with Nevada. I think Nevada will be a lean Republican state as of now. Actually, yeah, a lean Republican state, or maybe tilt. I think tilt actually, which I think it'll be by around a point, maybe half a point, 2 points. But if we check the polls in Nevada, Trump has a 7.7 lead right now in Nevada, and that is huge. I do not think he's going to win by that much. I think it'll be a lot narrower. Polls in Nevada usually tend to overestimate Republicans, but still, that huge of an overestimation is not really that possible. I think it'll be closer, but I think Trump will win it. In 2020, Trump had barely lost the state by around 2.5 percentage points, and it has been a state that's been trending slightly to the right every single election cycle. Republicans did win the governorship back in 2022 and almost flipped the Senate seat held by Catherine Cortez Masto. And Clark County over here, which houses Las Vegas, is probably the most important county. It holds most of the population in Nevada, and it trended a little bit to the right. And if this county continues to trend more to the right, eventually Republicans will get a pretty tight grip over the state. Next, we have Arizona. Arizona is really a 50-50 state at this point, but right now I'm going to give it to Donald Trump by a tilt margin. In 2020, Biden was able to flip the state since Bill Clinton in the 90s, and it is a state that's been trending very heavily to the left. They flipped both Senate seats, and Maricopa County, the most important county in the state, houses once again the majority of the population in the state, has been trending left every single year. And I see it continuing to trending left. The suburbs are just not good for Republicans at all. There's a lot of Californians and people from Washington, Oregon moving down to Arizona and continuing to vote Democrat. I think this might be the last time that Republicans could win Arizona federally. But after that, I don't really see too many Republicans having a chance in Arizona. Next, we'll head to Wisconsin. Wisconsin right now I have is a lean Republican state. I think Republicans have a very good shot here. Biden only won the state by around 20,000 votes in 2020. A very close state, one of the closest states in the election, and a state that has been relatively good for Republicans in recent times because of its heavy trend to the right. It has been trending very heavy to the right. Obama had won it pretty easily in 2012 and 2008, and Trump was able to flip it back in 2016. If we check the polls in Wisconsin, Trump does have a slight edge in Wisconsin, but just remember how much Republicans and Trump are underestimated in Wisconsin. This is a pretty good number for Trump, and I think he'll carry the state as of now. And keep in mind, these states could change. We are still 8 months away from the election, so anything could change between now and then. These are just a snapshot in time. This is a snapshot in time, and things could change. In Michigan, I think Trump right now has a slight edge in Michigan. I think he'll win it by a tilt margin. In 2020, Biden won Michigan by around 2.5%. He did very well in the suburbs. He did well in Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, and Detroit. However, Michigan has been trending very heavily to the right as all the Rust Belt states have in the past decade. And I see Trump winning it back, especially with Biden's super unpopularity in the state. He's very unpopular with the Muslim community in Michigan. And from the polls, it's very surprising to see Trump actually leads by 3.6%, which is huge for his campaign, huge for his reelection. And as of now, I see him winning it. Same thing with Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is going to be one of the closest states, possibly the state that gives Trump or Biden the win. And in the polls right now in Pennsylvania, Biden does have a slight lead, ever so slight lead. But I don't think that mattered too much because I think that once again, the polls in Pennsylvania are overestimating Democrats. And still, if we check the most recent two polls, Trump leads both of them. But if we go farther back, Biden has a slight lead. And if we go even farther back, it's very much a mixed bag. It's very back and forth. This is a state where Biden also barely won by about 1%, mainly because of his outreach in the eastern part of the state, northeastern especially. You know, Scranton Joe, he was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, try to outreach his support to this part over here, and it ended up working very well in 2020. But do I think it's going to happen again in 2024? No, I do not. I do not think it's going to happen. I think Trump's also going to make a lot of gains still in the rural parts, especially over here in northeastern Pennsylvania, and hope maybe in Philadelphia County itself. Okay, next, North Carolina. North Carolina, I think, is going to be a lean state for Trump. I think it's going to be a pretty easy win for him. I don't think he's going to have too much issue winning in North Carolina, and that's fairly because of how consistent North Carolina has been for Republicans, how consistently they've won every single election cycle. Biden is just super unpopular there. Trump had won it back in 2020 by around 1.5 points. And I don't see Trump losing any state that he won in 2020. So to say that Trump would lose North Carolina would be far-fetched, especially since he does have almost a 6-point lead and has led every single poll, apart from this one, which is a long time ago. But still, this is a huge lead for Trump. And same thing in Georgia. Georgia going blue in 2020 was I think, a big one-time fluke. And I think this time around, especially since Joe Biden is so unpopular with the black voters in Georgia, with the Hispanic voters and the white voters, I don't think he stands a chance in Georgia as of now. Keep in mind, things could change. This is as of now. Trump has a 6.5% lead in the polls, has led every single poll since all the way back. There was one that had him down by one in November, but since then, every single poll has had Trump with at least a 5-point advantage apart from one. And this just tells me that Trump will pick off the state, and he only lost it last time around by around 12,000 votes, one of the closest states. And the last state, apart from Nebraska second, will be New Hampshire. I think Biden does carry New Hampshire. I think this is one of the states where he is pretty favored in. I think this is one of the states where he does hold his ground, especially because it is just a very favorable state to him. I don't think this state likes Trump too much, especially, I mean, it trended pretty far to the left. And in Nebraska's second congressional district, I think Democrats will pick it off. I think they'll pick it off less than last time around, but I do think they'll pick it off. It's been a very left trending state, not state, district. It's been a very left trending district, and I don't think Trump can win it unless something vastly changes in the next 8 months. Anyways, this is my final prediction for March of 2024. I think Donald Trump has 312, Joe Biden has 226, with Donald Trump flipping Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll get to you guys again in the next video. Thank you very much.